A key city in eastern Ukraine appears to be on the verge of falling to Russia. Pokrovsk is an important stronghold on a major supply route for
repeated attempts by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to secure the long-range weapons and expand Kyiv's striking distance.
Now Russian forces are pouring into the city with intense street fighting underway.
So last week I spent 7 days in Ukraine tasting wines at the national competition, Wine and Spirits. I went to the expo, I went to a few festivals. I wanted to get this video perfect, so I had put it off a few days, and last night I had a car accident. I play basketball late in the evenings on Tuesday. It's far away, it's about a 50-minute drive. When I was coming back, since I was a little bit jet lagged, I fell asleep. My car slid into the median, barely caught the rail. I woke up just in time to bounce off the rail, and my car just kept going. Luckily, I'm unscathed. It could have been terrible. I was going about 75 miles an hour. I can't remember the conversion because I'm a little tight, 120 kilometers an hour. But oddly enough, by far, that was way more dangerous than anything I faced in Ukraine. I wanted to go to Ukraine because over the last few years, I see some of my friends at international wine competitions that are from Ukraine, and I see them completely distressed. They're super worried. They always look stressed out. And they've been wanting me to come to Ukraine to taste the wines, to showcase what the country has to offer, and they've been inviting me over and over. And this year I took the opportunity because I had a hole in my schedule, and I thought, why not? And I don't condone or advise everyone to go there because technically it's a war zone. I have to tell you that I'm not really wholly trusting of the mass media. I have friends in Kyiv saying life was going on as normal. A lot of the fighting was in the southeast side, the eastern side of the border. Ukraine is the last wine-producing country in Eastern Europe that I haven't visited, so I wanted to go there. I also really enjoyed that it was hard travel to get there, and being in the wine business, doing this full-time when I'm on trips a lot, I feel like I've gotten pretty soft as a traveler. I go to a certain place, I go to the airport, they pick me up, my itinerary is all laid out. This was a little different because my friend Victoria is a one-woman show. She was organizing the Wine and Spirits competition and expo, so she had to manage my travel. I came from Korea, where I was judging the Asia Wine Trophy. I had to fly into Chisinau, Moldova, because you cannot fly into Kyiv at the moment. After one night in Chisinau, Moldova, I took a 5-hour bus ride across the border to Odessa in the south of Ukraine, right on the Black Sea. After spending a day there at the Odessa Wine Festival, I took another 5-hour bus up to Kyiv, where I spent a few days judging the competition, going to the expo. And then on the way out, I took an overnight train about 15 hours from Kyiv all the way to Warsaw, Poland, where then I flew out the next day. I also wanted to go for the experience because travel changes you, and this trip definitely changed me. I was staying next to the Parliament building in Kyiv, so one of the safest areas, most protected. Going out at night in Kyiv, walking around, it looked like life was pretty normal if you weren't paying attention to the news. Aside from the fact that there's curfew, I think around midnight, so around 10, 11 p.m., a lot of restaurants, a lot of bars closed. When I was in Odessa for the evening, even though there was curfew, people were still partying like crazy. After the Food and Wine Festival, I walked back to my hotel and walked downtown. There were a lot of clubs and people spilling out the streets, still having a good time. Odessa is an incredibly beautiful city that's lost close to half of its population during the whole situation. At the Odessa Wine and Food Festival, it was fantastic. There was a lot of grills, a lot of meats being grilled. I had some delicious fried sardines. And then there was a cool cover band called The Beast playing everything from Forever Young. They played some Whitney Houston. I want to dance with somebody. I was dancing the entire time. I just had a blast. I remember sharing some things on my Instagram stories, and people were like, wow, there's no war? What's going on over there? I think a lot of days when people hear war zone, they think of troops just walking around like they see in World War II movies. That's not the case. A lot of the attacks are done by drones that were flying overhead. I didn't hear any of them while I was on my entire trip in Kyiv. I know one evening, I think a region north of the city and then west of the city got attacked a little bit, but I didn't hear any of it. There were no alarms. A lot of people used apps on their phone to see if there were drones up in the sky, and that's how they were informed. I know one night somebody said their central intelligence said there might be an attack, so we're going to show you where the bomb shelter is in the hotel, but luckily I didn't have to use it. When it comes to winemaking in Ukraine, it's some of my most trusted resources like Jancis Robinson's Oxford Companions of Wine and Wine Searcher had their facts and figures all messed up. From what we know, from what the producers on the ground told me, there's about 25,000 hectares of vineyards. 20,000 of that is right next to Odessa, the Odessa wine region, which is basically an extension of Moldova. And since Moldova has just a plethora of vineyards making some really excellent wines, you'd figure the grape quality would be good there as well. Crimea used to be a major wine producing part of Ukraine, but now it's been annexed to Russia and there's a hard border. You can't go into into Ukraine via Crimea. You have to go all the way around through Russia. What the producers told me, there are about 100 to 150 wineries operating. They don't even know what's happening in Crimea at the moment since they're not in contact. Some of the wineries, like one of my favorite ones, Beykush, their vineyards are close to Crimea on the front lines. So I wasn't even allowed to visit. I was planning to go to visit, but I wasn't allowed during that time because I needed special permit. I had only tasted a handful of Ukrainian wines in the past. My friend Victoria had brought some to Concours Mondial before. I also tasted it in various parts of the world. Shabo is probably the most recognized producer. Even though they make a lot of cheap wines, they do make some high-level stuff as well. My first couple of days experience Ukrainian wines was at the Odessa Wine Festival, where a lot of small producers, and I noticed, man, the grape quality was really good, and some wines were pretty darn good, like Tinta, which is a pretty big producer, makes good value for money wines, and I noticed a lot of small producers, the grape quality was good, they just didn't have some of the technical stuff in order, so I think with more investment and more know-how, they're just going to keep getting better and better and better. I know that's tough during this whole situation. When I was at the competition judging, I was pleasantly surprised with the quality of wines. I tasted actually a world-class sparkling rosé wine. I tasted some great whites, including a unique cross variety called Zargre. Was a barrel fermented example, was absolutely wonderful. Throughout a few evenings in Kyiv, I went to a few different wine bars, tasted through a number of wines. A lot of my friends helped put together special tasting flights. Then I went to the Wine and Spirits Expo, where there were a number of producers exhibiting, and I tasted some really impressive wines. Ukraine does have indigenous grape varieties and crosses and hybrids. In the south in Odessa, there's a white grape called Soholomansky. It's more of a thinner, slightly aromatic white wine. Also, they have Odessa Black, which is a cross of Alicante Bouschet and Cabernet Sauvignon, so it has darker skin. I did a couple master classes tasting some aged Odessa Black, and I have to say, with some time in the bottle, 3, 4, 5 years, these wines start to unfurl. They're big, full-bodied wines with big tannins, but they have high acidity, so it helps keep the palate refreshed. I'm hoping producers get to the point in Ukraine where they actually can start releasing these wines with bottle age. I know you got to make money, and that's the tough part. The wines were affordable, which was nice as well. Some of my favorite producers that I tasted for is Shabo, after their high-level wine. Shabo makes a lot of inexpensive wines, but they make some high-level wines as well. Chateau Chizay, which makes a delicious red blend of Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon, and Pinot Noir. I saw a lot of producers making this blend. For me, which is good, it's more contemporary red wines. They weren't big, full-bodied monsters like Odessa Black can be. They were more medium-bodied, just juicy, enjoyable wines. Other producers I really enjoyed were Petropol, which actually made a Grenache that was absolutely delicious. Wine Kolonist, one of the oldest private producers in Ukraine, making some high-level stuff. Their barrel-fermented Chardonnay was really impressive. We have a number of my other favorite producers here, like Beykush. They're probably one of the more famous Ukrainian producers. I have the Rakatsatelli and Amphora I thought was exceptional. I love this red blend, Artania, which is Merlot, Tempranillo, Pinot Noir, Cabernet Sauvignon, Reuben. Just a fun, medium-bodied red wine, super high quality. Vinoman, small producer, only making 10,000 bottles a year. His Pinot Noir was outstanding. I actually took home a bottle of his Cabernet Franc, which he said was his best wine. Leleka makes some excellent wines. Tinta, here's their Odessa Black. Their wines are fantastic value for money. There was a small project called 46 Parallel that made reds and also great sparkling wines, along with Grande Vallee, which made excellent reds and sparkling wines. I tasted a number of cool, hardcore, unique, more natural wines, including Biologist, which had a great label, like a Beavis and Butthead, like the owners dressed up as Beavis and Butthead. I tasted an orange wine out of the local grape, Soholomansky, and it was exceptional orange wine. Just not good for Ukraine. It was really, really good natural orange wine. My overall takeaway in terms of the wine and the people, I had tasted a number of outstanding high-quality wines in Ukraine, and I think the potential is there, is down in the south in Odessa. Like I said, it's just basically, the vineyards are basically an extension of Moldova, and Moldova is great for grape growing conditions. Up in the north, I found some whites. I do think Ukraine, like a lot of young wine-producing countries, even though Ukraine has a long history of wine production, the modern history is relatively short. Sometimes they try to push these red wines, try to do a passamento, make them Amarone style, try to make them a little bit too big. I found more delicate wines, like I said, these red blends that were more medium bodied. I tasted some nice Pinot Noir, so I thought there could be a future there. And I do think there's a future for sparkling wines. If you want to try Ukrainian wines, or any wines for that matter, you have to have a good wine glass. Glassfin glasses, I really like them. The top glass producing countries in the world are generally considered to be Swiss, Austrian, or French. Glassfin is an American company. This is the Universal, which I really like. It's actually lighter than my Gabriel glass, although a little taller. It's a little bit heavier than my Zalto, which is a little bit taller, but they come in at a good price and they're more readily available because sometimes Zalto Gabriel glass are hard to find. I have a link in the description box if you want to check them out. I get a small commission if you do purchase with that link, so thank you. Kyiv was an outstanding city. I'm trying to plan my life where I live part of the year in Europe, probably in Lisbon, although I started to think, man, maybe I should live in Kyiv part of the year once all this situation clears up. The spirit of the people, absolutely phenomenal. This is not a political channel, but people are always different from politics. And the people were so proud. They were so happy for me to be there. In fact, one of the top sommeliers wrote this glowing Instagram post that really sent chills up my spine. I gave a masterclass on video content creation. Some other people outside the industry, including fashion writers, fashion journalists, came in. They were so thankful for me just being there and showcasing the wines, attempting to try the wines. My friends, they're just trying to make it. Victoria, organizing everything herself. I have some other Ukrainian friends working in the wine business, and it was incredible. I didn't get to experience, what was happening. I was in a bubble. I didn't experience, for me, life was just normal there. But for a lot of them living in different parts of the city, they didn't have electricity because electric plants are getting bombed. So sometimes it'd take forever for them to get ready, or they'd have to move to some other friends had to move to a hotel because they said, finally, I can't deal with not being able to shower. And I know a lot of Ukrainian producers are struggling to sell wine, like a lot of producers around the world. And sometimes when I think, oh, did I make the wrong choice? Maybe I should go back to private practice. Should I have done something else in life where it was more profitable? But I think in the wine business, since my dad's a farmer, it's just, you meet a lot of good people that are trying to make it. And that to me was touching. People that were curious, they wanted to learn, they wanted to improve. And in today's day and age where everything is becoming way more digital, I think what makes wine special is it's a tangible thing. It's something that you ingest. It's a bottle of wine is meant to keep people that you love at the dinner table a little bit longer. And I really saw that spirit in the Ukrainian people. I had a chance to sit down with them, taste the wines, drink a little bit, laugh. And despite all of this that's happening in their country, people were just pushing forward. When you go to places like this, it really makes me thankful for what I have. In some ways, I don't have anything to complain about in life. Really touching moment for me that just encapsulated the Ukrainian experiences. When I was at the Odessa Food and Wine Festival, that cover band I was talking about was playing a song. This couple was dancing, and I was a complete stranger, and they just handed their phone over me so that I could take a little video of them. I mean, I'm a stranger. I could have just walking out and taken it, and they were just smiling, having a good time, trying to forget everything that was going on, and I thought, man, this is just an absolutely beautiful moment. I do hope you get a chance to taste some Ukrainian wines. If you have, let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next video.